Hi, this is GILA. As it's the last day of 2019, certainly as I'm recording this, and tonight begins a new year and effectively a new decade, 2020, I thought I would post another video. I haven't forgotten starting the new millennium in the year 2000, feeling a great excitement for the future while watching fireworks from the top of a tower block in Southampton in the south of England, and also wondering whether all the computers would crash as some people had predicted. They didn't. Or as a young child in the early 70s, thinking that the year 2000 was ages away and I would be unimaginably old when it came about. 20 years later on, in my mid-50s, I am starting to feel just a little older than I did, but hopefully I still have many good years ahead of me. And time races on, faster and faster it seems. My great-aunt, my Auntie Dot, who was born in 1892, and when she left school worked in a dressmaker's making whalebone corsets for Edwardian ladies, and who died when she was 92, assured me that the older she got, the faster time seemed to fly by. But however fast time seems to go by, there have been many changes in our lives even since the new millennium started. The attack on the Twin Towers in the USA by 19 Muslim jihadists in 2001 really seemed to mark a difference in the world. The internet has become ever more integrated into our lives with smartphones and all kinds of new technology that are rapidly developing. And yet, while the potential for new technology to improve our lives is great, we are facing real threats to our future well-being in Western civilization. The mainstream media, which was always left-leaning, has largely completely left objectivity behind, regularly lying and creating a false narrative. Democrats in the USA have not only shifted leftward, forgetting that socialism and communism have never really worked because of human nature, but have blatantly acted against the whole spirit of the US Constitution and its checks and balances to try to impeach the lawfully elected president on frankly nothing at all, and with no real fairness in their proceedings in Congress, because it seems they have no real way of defeating him in 2020 or of staving off the exposure of real crimes amongst top Democrats when finally John Durham makes his report in a few months' time. In Britain, we've had the whole sorry saga of the majority of MPs seeking to prevent the implementation of the result of the 2016 referendum and actually leave the EU, resulting in the landslide election of a strong Conservative government under Boris Johnson. And while Boris is showing some promising determination to change things, we urgently need some real courage and candour from him and others in positions of authority in Britain in actually naming the elephant in the room of Islamic political ideology with regard to the treatment of non-Muslims, which is supremacist, hateful, bigoted, and essentially evil. Totally at odds with modern civilized standards of equal justice under the law for everyone, irrespective of differences or belief, for freedom of speech and human rights, which are already under threat from the implementation of badly drafted hate crime legislation. The guilty verdict and imprisonment of Tommy Robinson in 2019 and also previous year simply for asking a convicted rapist how he felt about his sentence was a complete travesty of any real standards of fairness and impartial justice from the highest levels among the British judiciary. I was appalled by it, as I'm sure many other good people were. And other people like Jaydafransen and basedamy have also been on the wrong end of apparently biased judging simply for expressing their opinions in the end. And surely they should have every right to do. The automatic demonization and libeling of anyone who simply criticizes Islamic ideology when frankly there is a great deal in it that should be criticized. as its supposed extreme right-wing bigots, when the real bigotry here actually lies within the belief system of Islam itself, needs to end, and quickly. As does any more immigration of Muslim immigrants into this country, not because the problem is with people in themselves, of course not. But the problem is with the actual ideology of Islam. And unless and until imams truly grasp this whole problem with real honesty, no taqiyya, and with real courage, and openly condemn all the particular verses and teachings that encourage faithful Muslims to attack, to hurt, to exploit, and even to murder non-Muslims simply because of their beliefs, then surely we cannot afford to allow in any more potential jihadis or rapists destroying the lives of our own British people, especially the lives of our children. Then we have the overblown and ridiculous preoccupation with supposed large numbers and fluctuations of human sexes, when biologically there are only two genders, with just a tiny number of genuine intersex people. Essentially, that is another threat to our civilization. Sure, everyone deserves the right to be treated equally under the law and to choose as informed and consenting adults to live as they prefer to do. But no one has the right to impose their frankly distorted concept of gender on anyone else, least of all on vulnerable young children who surely deserve to have their innocence respected until they're older. That's not freedom, that is tyranny. Life has always been difficult and complicated in human civilization. There's never been any golden age when life was actually equally fair for everyone. And there have always been threats to people's freedoms and well-being. Both my own grandfathers fought for our country in the First World War. And I grew up hearing many stories about the Blitz from my parents who were children growing up in London during World War II. But not only do I believe we can all make a difference by seeking to help other people less fortunate than ourselves, by doing good where we can, even simply by smiling at somebody we meet in the street, trying to make people feel better when they're down. We can also do so by refusing to put up with any more politically correct absurdities, and by taking the opportunity I believe we have now, and this is the best time we will ever have, I believe, to speak out publicly and persistently against the real wrongs and the real problems that we face in Britain today, and insisting that they are not only recognised at the highest level, but that something real and practical is done about them for all our sakes. So, I'd like to raise my glass, and I'd like to wish everyone a better, kinder, more prosperous, and also freer new year, and also a new decade for 2020. Cheers! Very nice. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.